What's up, y'all? This is another episode of Crazy Scary Cool. So right now I am doing an end of the year fantasy football Um, review recap. That's a little redundant. Um, but yeah, I'm doing a just a recap of the year. So I started with I think wide receivers, and then I did running backs, then quarterbacks, and now I'm just gonna wrap things up with tight end. Um, so right now we are in the first round of the playoffs. Um, Hopefully things are going smooth. I know that everybody who is listening to this probably can't be winning, but yeah, just hope for the best for whoever is watching this. But yeah, so I'm going to be talking about tight ends today. Merry Christmas. It's December now, so Merry Christmas. Happy holidays for those who want to keep things neutral. But yeah, I'll go ahead and jump right in. So tight ends have been a very volatile position this year. It's been very odd. Just like I mentioned in other videos, passing games took a little while to get going. There was a lot of volatility in the first several weeks, I would say. Um, so receivers were a little bit shaky. So then you can imagine what that did with tight ends. So some of our usual suspects, guys who you would have taken high, um, either took a while to really get started or never really took off. So someone like Mark Andrews, so I'll just go kick it, get started. Um, there were people saying that he was washed up. He really just was struggling. I think there were some games to where he didn't get catches. Um, just really wasn't looking like him. The Mark Andrews uh, that we've known for the last handful of years. So he's someone who eventually did get it going. Evan Ingram had a great year. I think he was like two or three catches off for like the single season record. For He had some injuries. Jacksonville as a team has just been a mess. Um, Travis Kelsey, I think he started off a little bit slow, but then once they got some injuries to wide receivers that they reintegrated him back in the offense. So he started to get going. That really didn't that either took a while to get going. That took a while to get going. Also, Sam Laporta, he's someone else that went high. Um, that I mean, he really just started having some competent games like kind of recently. Um, you got let me think of this. Dang, there was someone else on my mind. Just some of the people that just really had were a little bit lackluster. Someone like a Dalton Kincaid. He hasn't had a bad season, but he was someone that I thought that could have like a sneaky good year. Um, just because there were some question marks on Buffalo's wide receivers. They've used a wide receiver by committee approach, and I kind of figured that that would be the case, but I thought that the tight ends would get incorporated a lot more heavily than what they were. So he's someone who kind of just had like a kind of a decent year. They spread the ball so much. They've been running the ball. Um, then you have like a Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, he's not a bad NFL player, but I think he was taken fourth overall based on what he was supposed to be, how high he was taken. I don't want to say like when I bust is for like a bad player, but he's not meeting expectations and he's just looking like a very average tight end. And he was someone that was supposed to be a mismatch, someone who was really going to be dominating the position and changing the position might be dramatic. He was supposed to be someone who was playing at a high level, and he just frankly has not. So there's been a lot of disappointment. Honestly, the takeaway from this season, and just because something happened this year doesn't mean it'll happen next year. But honestly, you really can probably wait on tight end. The guys who have been good, the top three are Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and George Kittle. George Kittle, in particular, was someone who he was top two, top one at the top spot for most of the year. But then Brock Bowers has just really come along. Bowers is looking like he can be a perennial Pro Bowler. Um, George Kittle is George Kittle, but Trey McBride is someone who has just really came along and just really been a really great player. Like he's been someone who I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to really hoard a lot of the targets, but Trey McBride has really, honestly, been the best option for them. So those are the top three scoring tight ends for them. Honestly, I'm not really surprised by any of the three. Um, like none of them are like maybe Trey McBride. I wouldn't have picked him in the top three before the season, but I'm not surprised he's there. So that part is kind of is yeah, that's not too much of a surprise. And even as I'm going down the list, you have like a Travis Kelsey is fifth, Mark Andrews is sixth. So it actually is some common names, and like I don't think anyone, not too many people would be too surprised by that list. Someone who does jump out is a Johnu Smith. Miami hasn't really utilized their tight ends too much, not since Mike Gesicki. So it's been a couple years since they've done that. So he's a surprise. Cade Otton has, I mean, he was winning some weeks by himself for a little bit of a stretch. Back when Tampa got hit with a bunch of injuries and their offense just looked a little just out of sorts. So he's in the top 10. Um, Shit, you've got David Njoku has had a strong season. Hunter Henry was in the top 10 at one point. Taysom Hill was dominant before some of the injuries. So, like, there are some unexpected faces. I guess some of the guys that we would have thought would have been up there aren't. So, if you're just doing a draft, really might be able to get away with just waiting on a tight end. Oh, excuse me, I'm yawning. It's a little late here. I guess for me, my rationale, and I don't think I took a tight end too high in any of my leagues, but I can understand the rationale of taking a tight end high at least where you start them, because if you can win that position or even dominate that position, that's a huge advantage every week. Like Travis Kelsey a couple years ago, when he was putting up wide receiver numbers, same thing with Mark Andrews. I mean, it's like you're having a wide receiver one at the tight end position. So it's a huge advantage. Huge advantage. So I can get the rationale, but just you're getting some guys who are getting tremendous value who may not have even been drafted. Some of these guys could have been waiver wire picks. Um, so like if you can just get depth at other positions and you're getting these guys with great value, top 10 value very late, I mean, you got to do that. But yeah, this it's been an odd year for tight ends. There were guys like Isaiah Likely, uh early season where he had they didn't really do too much. The subsequent game he stayed in the top five just because no one else was really scoring. So it's a well, I guess there's some familiar, but then there are some guys that are a little bit unexpected. So I guess like the takeaway is that going forward, George Kittle, God, next year, I mean, just because he's a very physical player, he's someone that like maybe the injuries, just the aches and pains being in the NFL could catch up with him, but it's looking like a Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. Damn, Travis Kelsey will be like 37 next year. Damn, that's tough. I'm not sure about him, but Brock Bowers and Trey McBride are two guys that I think that are like okay, like you can probably count on them. And if you're gonna take a tight end high, you could take those guys, especially Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers might be a top. He might be you might be able to take him in the second round, just because like he's putting up some really great numbers. Um, Someone else that I think is going to be a sneaky pick is David Njoku. Like if Jameis Winston comes back as the starter, um, David Njoku is someone that I think you could take with like by round six for sure. Just because those pass catches are very different. They're very different when Jameis, honestly, anyone, because he put up these numbers with Joe Flacco. So I'm not sure if they're going to go quarterback in the draft, but they need to figure out how they can get the hell away from Deshaun Watson. Um, but yeah, so it's just such an odd position because like you want to try to get these guys late if you can, but the position could very easily be a bust too. Like you don't want to not get anything. You could have guys who could really just get you like two catches for 12 yards in a game, who just really don't give you too much value. And that's a bummer too. Um, so it's a very odd position. Um, so yeah, it's just been a really weird year for that position. Kind of just like this season. I feel like this has been a really good, interesting season. But fantasy football wise, I feel like this year has been very unpredictable. So, but it's been a cool year. It's been fun. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up my recap. I went through the four positions. I'm not gonna do defense, honestly, just because, man, that there's really been no. I guess Denver, LA, Minnesota, Pitt, the Texans. Those have been, I guess, just off the top of my head, like the five best defenses. But I don't really know if they're worth having a video over. Um, so yeah, so that's gonna be my end of year recap. So that's how it ends. So yeah, again, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Again, I love talking football, real football, and fantasy. So yeah, just leave me a comment and let's chat. So thank y'all for tapping in with Crazy Scary Cool. Have a great Christmas. It's Sunday here, so watching the Sunday night game. If you're watching it, hope you enjoy uh, Monday night game. And thank y'all. And yeah, have a good. See you.